OFI Chronicles, Chapter 4, Digital Ember. The OFI archive smelled like steel, burnt toner, and unanswered questions. Ruiz was already seated under the dim fluorescence, case files fanned across the table in crisp lines. Hayes dropped a coffee beside her and lowered into the opposite chair.
You ever sleep textbook?
She didn't answer, just slid an autopsy photo toward him. Marcus Thorne, age 38, found dead in a fire ruled accidental, ignition source, suspected electrical failure. Origin undetermined. Thorne had been a contractor for the Olympic Stadium's data systems. Hayes studied the image. Facial burns, right cheek, jawline, up toward the temple. Second and third degree patterns with clean directional edges.
Flash burn,
he said. Ruiz nodded.
Right palm's got it too. Palm and fingertips shows blistering.
like he was holding something.
No inhalation injuries either, which tells me he was either dead or the fire was fast enough to kill before he took a breath.
She laid down a page from the original investigation report.
Phone recovered from bedside. Fire and water damaged. Deemed non-recoverable. Discarded.
Let me guess.
Hayes said.
No forensic imaging, no power history, no data pulled.
They didn't even try. And this guy built encryption for a living.
Hayes shook his head.
Phone like that should have gone straight to the digital lab. Battery logs, comms metadata, hell, even signal receipts. You don't throw that out.
They didn't miss it.
Ruiz said.
They buried it.
She opened another folder.
Thorne leased a downtown office, paid through a secondary vendor in the stadium's budget. Said it was for off-network diagnostics.
Hayes gave her a look.
Let's go see what's left.
Suite 3B, Thorne Consulting. No plaque, no receptionist. Ruiz worked the lock with a flick of her wrist. Inside, it smelled like scorched plastic.
Burned electronics.
Hayes said.
Yeah.
Ruiz's flashlight swept the floor, stopping near the window. A square of lighter carpet, the outline of a laptop bag, possibly leaning against the wall. She knelt, brushing away debris.
This is a protected area. Whatever was here blocked heat and smoke. It was in place when the fire started, then removed after.
Hayes nodded.
This wasn't an accident. This is a cleanup.
Ruiz followed a thin cable behind the baseboard. Inside the vent slot of an old tower case, a heat-warped external hard drive, still warm.
Let's call in ATF's digital forensics team to examine the hard drive,
Ruiz said, already pulling up their contact. The lab was a cathedral of screens and silence. Towering server racks buzzed softly in the background. Every cubicle had triple monitors, deep cushioned chairs, and unmarked towers humming with custom power. Agent Hall's workstation sat at the end, more command center than desk. A matte black SK Scorpion rig, fully motorized, with electric tilt, surround-mounted monitors, and LED-trimmed edges that gave the entire structure the feel of a steel arachnid coiled for a strike.
Ruiz was in her element. Fire erased. But it didn't lie. Not if you knew where to look.
Hall's fingers moved with surgical precision, bypassing encryption, reviving corrupted data sector by sector. What emerged wasn't random. It was mapped.
Thorne wasn't paranoid.
Ruiz muttered, eyes fixed on the recovered directory.
He was tracking signal traffic from the stadium.
Hayes stood behind her, arms crossed.
Let me guess. Every address lines up with one of our fatal fires?
Hall tapped a key. The city map lit up with red pins. Each one matched a closed fire. Every one ruled accidental.
Thorne called it resonant signal targeting.
Hall said.
High-frequency pulses, strong enough to bypass lithium-ion thermal cutoffs, triggering thermal runaway by proximity.
Ruiz nodded.
Phones,
She said.
They're using coded signals to push the batteries into thermal runaway. It overrides protection circuits, overheats the cells, The phone becomes a directional incendiary.
Hayes leaned in closer.
What kind of blast signature are we talking?
Localized. Focused. Based on injury photos and scene damage, it's what NFPA 921 classifies as a low-order explosion. Slower pressure rise, minimal overpressure, but enough to produce thermal trauma and directional burn effects.
She tapped a post-mortem photo on the screen.
Right palm and fingertips. Deep burns. No defensive injuries. Suggests he was holding the phone when it went off.
She opened a recovered audio file. A shrill, piercing frequency filled the room, high enough to make their jaws clench. Then came a screech of digital static.
They're not just starting fires.
Ruiz said.
They're targeting people, one by one. Anyone who gets too close.
She brought up one final screen. The signal origin. Chicago Olympic Stadium. Hayes stared at it.
They're not hiding the source?
No.
Ruiz said.
Because no one's looking there.
He nodded slowly.
Thorne found the signal, so they used it on him.
They're eliminating witnesses.
She said.
Anyone who figures out how it works.
He looked at her.
We're witnesses now, textbook.
She didn't blink.
Then we better move fast.
Outside, phones lit up across the city, each one a time bomb.